8:13 right now, and a Bronx mother charged with killing her 5-year-old twins due back in court in July after pleading not guilty on Friday to murder charges. Now, it is such a tough story to hear. The medical examiner recently ruling the deaths of George and Gianna Kantanka a homicide. Those kids died back in December, but the incident was initially considered a medical tragedy. The autopsy indicates the children were actually smothered.
That is just hard to hear.
Yeah.
Each year, nearly 2,000 children die from abuse and neglect. 5 children die every day from child abuse, and more than half of those children are younger than 3 years old. More than 80% of child fatalities involve at least one parent. The numbers, the stats here is just hard to swallow. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Our next guest is on the front lines of the fight to keep children safe. Aracely Rodriguez is a licensed clinical social worker and a senior director at Safe Horizon. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the work that you do each and every day. For people at home who don't know, what is Safe Horizon?
So Safe Horizon is the nation's largest victim services agency, actually, and we are in New York City and all the 5 boroughs. So we work with all victims of crime, including, from child abuse to domestic violence, homelessness, trafficking, and all that kind of support in that kind of way.
Yeah, you don't have an easy job day in and day out. And, usually we ask about numbers, and these are not numbers we want to really highlight, but how do you see this kind of play out across the 5 boroughs when it comes to child abuse?
So in the Child Advocacy Center, specific to Safe Horizon, we see about 10,000 children a year with allegations of either physical abuse or sexual abuse. And so in Queens, which is the Child Advocacy Center where I'm from, we see about a third of that number there, Brooklyn being the highest in volume, us falling right behind them.
Okay.
Is there an explainer for why that is?
I can't really say. I think that it has a lot to do with poverty and just a lot to do with a lot of different variables, I would say.
We were talking about this horrible case in the Bronx, and it really is tough to hear about and for us to read about it, for you to witness it and for you to handle these cases. What are some of the common signs before it gets to that point of abuse?
Well, I would say that, when we're thinking about not only physical abuse, but sexual abuse, sometimes children may start to feel uncomfortable around someone, right? Or start to feel little, butterflies in their stomach. They're just feeling uncomfortable. But also you might see signs like maybe increasing aggression or withdrawal from, doing their normal daily activities, right? So these kind of changes you might see in children who there's something going on for them, whether it's something else or it can be abuse.
Yeah, but how do it's for you, because you're the specialist here. How do you kind of decipher that there's something else and not just a kid being a kid of acting out?
Yeah. So, when they come to see us at the Child Advocacy Center, we have trained clinicians who are forensic interviewers. And in that same breath, they're able to sit in a space with a child and have a non-leading conversation where they're just exploring what may have happened because allegations have arisen in some way or form, whether they outcried or whether someone has a suspicion and they called it into the state central registry. So in that way, once, with the special training, a lot of children end up disclosing what may have happened to them. And some children maybe are not ready to disclose yet as well.
So we should just show the list of indicators on the screen. So for people watching at home, if they're a teacher, or if they're a parent or a caretaker and they sense, oh, those indicators seem familiar, what can they do? Who's eligible to walk into Safe Horizons?
Well, anyone is eligible to walk into Safe Horizon, right? So you can always call our hotline, which is 1-800-621-HOPE. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And also you could reach out to law enforcement. You could reach out to ACS. That's how the CACs, the Child Advocacy Centers, get referrals, is when it funnels through ACS. Or you can even go to the hospital and have your child assessed, or tell someone, go to the school, right? Go to the teachers, the principals, and let them know that there's something going on and you need help.
Yeah, a startling number here is that children who experience abuse and neglect are 9 times more likely to get involved in some kind of criminal activity, right? So that's where Safe Horizon kind of comes in, because you're doing these trauma interventions What does that look like?
Yeah, so at Safe Horizon, and specifically at the Child Advocacy Centers, we do 2 brief models. So one of them is called the Child, Family, and Traumatic Stress Intervention. This is about a 5 to 8 session model, trauma focused, and it derives from the Yale Child Study Center. So that involves the non-offending caregiver and the child together so that they can help, because what we know is that as a parent, you're the expert in your child and in your family, right? So you're the one, you should be in the space. We're only there for a little bit of time, right? You've survived this far and you're going to survive after us, right? So we're there to support you in that space. The other model that we do is called our brief trauma intervention, which I actually co-developed with a group of my colleagues. And that intervention is about a 1 to 5 session model. It is infused with trauma-informed lens, along with really thinking through with an anti-racist lens how the systems have now impacted your family. Because what we know is that once you have something like this happen, all of a sudden you have all these people involved in your life trying to tell you what to do and how to do. And so we want to make sure that we're there for you to support you in how you feel that you need to be supported for you and your family.
Basically, Safe Horizons is the first step in getting help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Incredible work that you do each and every day. And if you're watching this right now and suspect that a child has been neglected or abused, you can dial the number right there on your screen, 1-800-342-3720. We'll have it on our website too, pix11.com. Thank you again.